Coach, I know we have a series to talk about against Mercyhurst, but obviously the news today about AIC, I know you've got a great respect for that program and Coach Eric Lang over there. They're moving down to D2. Your thoughts on that situation?
Well, it's obviously not a good situation. We don't need to be losing programs. We've got 64 teams at the Division I level, and it's not a good thing to be losing programs. It just isn't. I feel bad for them. I feel bad for college hockey. Obviously, Eric Lang isn't going to be in the breadline for very long. He's a very talented guy, and the hockey world knows that. He's had opportunities to go elsewhere, and there will be opportunities for he and his staff. Brendan Riley is one of his assistants. Coach Riley, Brian's son, one of his sons, is one of the assistants on that staff as well. And reputations are earned, and the AIC hockey staff has an impeccable reputation. So those guys are going to be able to find jobs. It's just it's a shame that we're going to have one less team at the Division I level. To be honest with you, there's going to be an influx of Canadian Hockey League players are going to be coming in and flooding. And to be honest with you, there's more Division I talent available. There was before more Division I talent available than there was lockers available, and that's going to get even tighter right now. Before this Canadian Hockey League things, before they opened the floodgates with that, we were producing over a third of the players for the National Hockey League. Those numbers are not going to be dwindling or getting smaller anytime soon. Maybe the beneficiary, the winners and the beneficiaries and all this are going to be the college hockey fans, because the pool is going to get nothing but deeper and stronger. With the Canadian Hockey League players coming, one less team with AIC. Obviously, the teams that this doesn't benefit, that benefits the least by it, are the service academies, Army and Air Force. These Canadian junior players, the Canadian Hockey League is over 90% Canadian players, which doesn't help Air Force and Army. But hopefully, when the other programs are picking up these Canadian-born players, there's going to be more players left in the available pool for Army and Air Force. So hopefully, we're going to benefit in a small way with the trickle down. But no, college hockey it's awfully good right now, just where it sits, and it's going to be even better. And deeper and better next in the upcoming years.
This past weekend, you pick up your second home sweep, this time against Canisius. Talk to me. It seemed like a theme last year was getting the guys to expect it. Once they took night one, the other team is going to come out and do whatever they can, play with a sense of urgency to avoid getting swept. It seems like you guys are handling that a little bit better this year. Can you speak to that a little bit, despite having a younger team?
I think, for one thing, that this team does have a lot of resilience, and they're battlers. But when you look at our roster, and actually I'm going to go and I talk, Brian Riley at Army and I talk a lot. Last Friday, we won basically 2-1-0 games. We scored an empty netter to make it 2-0. But Army beats Niagara, and we beat Canisius, two of the best offensive teams in the league, and we hold them to virtually nothing. And we had 15 freshmen and sophomores, when you count our backup goalies, in our lineup on Friday. I don't know about Brian's goalies, but they had 13 skaters. We each had 13 skaters that were freshmen and sophomores, and true freshmen and sophomores. So what we accomplished was pretty amazing, especially when you consider the opponent we had, Canisius, was the oldest team in the country, and they chart those things. They're the oldest, and when we couldn't have been any younger unless we were younger by a few days to Army. And then we play on Sunday. And we lose Digby, so we go down. So we had one less. We had 14 of our 18 or 19 skaters were freshmen and sophomores. So what we accomplished was incredible, and to be able to beat that team once, but then back and beat them again. Hey, a lot of things. Those games could have just easily been 2-1 losses, as they were 2-1, 2-0, 2-1 wins. But our coaches are doing a terrific job preparing those kids to play. It's defense first. We know we're going to have to win low-scoring games. We're getting some bounces. We're getting the goaltending that you have to have in a situation like that. But I was so impressed with just the fire, the bright eyes, the spunk that we had on the bench. It was really fun to be around, and I don't think that it was a coincidence either that the good Lord gave us some snow days, which enabled our guys to get some rest. We also played a Friday, Sunday, which I think was good for our young group. We didn't have to come back against that older Canisius team, right away on a Saturday. And as we all know, competing at the Division I level, it's never been easy, but it's never been more difficult than it is in the landscape of today. And that's not just with hockey at the service academies. It's with all sports. It's never been more difficult. And I find it ironic that on a weekend where we get a blizzard and all the cadets are sleeping in, getting their rest, not having to go to class, no responsibilities militarily, find it strange, and I don't think it is a strange coincidence. I don't think it's a coincidence at all that we have men's basketball wins on Thursday, women's basketball wins on Friday, hockey wins on Friday and Sunday, football wins on Saturday, volleyball wins on Saturday. And none of these programs are in the top half of their league, or projected to be in the top half of their league. No, it was no coincidence. Hey, look at everything that we all do in our everyday walks of life. We all do it much better when we're rested and have fresh minds. And trust me, we had some bright eyes, we had some fresh minds and some fresh bodies on the ice. And I think that made all the difference in the world to us finding a way to win both those games.
Well, Coach, this weekend, both of your games are at 8 o'clock. So is this going to be nap time for Coach, or how are we going to?
It's going to be a tough one on the old man. I'm not a good napper anymore. I wake up in the middle of the night, at 2, 3 in the morning, but usually I can sleep in. And if I get a little sleep, I sleep in a little bit in the morning. I'm pretty good to go. But, I think that those 8 o'clock starts are going to be they're a lot harder on elderly people like myself than they are with our those guys can take, trust me, these guys can nap anywhere. And the one thing that we're going to have to do, especially on Friday, because we have school on Friday, is we're going to have that extra hour, and we need to take advantage of that extra hour. They need to get a good nap in the afternoon, and they're going to need one on Saturday too, but they have to go to school on Friday in the morning. And again, keep in mind, if you're just out there and you don't really think about what these kids do and how they prepare, they're going to school. They're getting up early and they're going to school, and they've got a game at 8 o'clock at night. Well, 8 o'clock at night needs to be the prime time of their day, and it can't be. It's impossible for that to be the prime time of their day unless they get a good nap in the afternoon. So, we're going to have to deal with and jockey a little bit with that. But I'm a lot happier at the games at 8 o'clock on Friday rather than at 5 o'clock on Friday. That shortens that window that our guys can shut it down and get a little rest mentally for the contest that night.
Because your first couple of weekends were against really high quality opponents, are you starting to see playing against that competition helping and benefiting your team now, especially after coming off a sweep and all that?
Well, I think, first of all, we found out, our young group found out right away, what what Division I college hockey looks like, and they got to see it up front and close with some of the best teams in the country, and what doesn't defeat you makes you stronger. That schedule beat us up a little bit physically and mentally, but it didn't demoralize us. And the biggest thing that we talked about, what it took for us to be able to compete against the very best in the country. It's what it's gonna take to be able to have a chance to win against the teams in our league. And so the preparation is the same. Defense first. We've got to get to the third period. When we have got to the third period, where that third period is a third period where if we win it, we most likely win the game. We've responded pretty well with that. The games we haven't are the ones that got away from us, for the most part, got away from us early. We can't have that happen. You're not going to win many games in the first period, but you can lose a lot of them. And what we did last weekend against Canisius, and for the most part, we did it the weekend before against Colorado College. We got to that third period. We got to overtime on Friday, and we got to that third period. Now, they got on top of us and pulled away in that third period, but we went into those third periods against Colorado College in a position to win those games. And we did the same thing against Canisius. And we need to continue to see that. We've got to be ready to play. It's defense first. And we've got to get to that third period and have that third period be a situation on the scoreboard where we're up by a goal, down by a goal, dead even, where we win the third period, we're in the money. That's where it's got to be.
Coach, you've gotten a lot of offensive production from your top line guys, Cosentino, Gibbons, Remazong. Entering this last game, I want to say, they had a hand in every goal in the last three games prior to the Sunday game against Canisius. You guys began that game with a goal from Stitz off the redirect on the shot from Cunningham. How good is it to see that scoring depth kind of build up, and who do you expect to kind of take a step in terms of their scoring touch as the season progresses?
I mean, it's a good question, Hugh, but we are not going to be a prolific scoring team. I mean, we need to be able to get to a point where we're able to score just a little more than we're giving up, because that's kind of where things are going to be. And you're talking about offensive production. You're talking, we scored. As Jay Ritchie said, I think, hey, you won 2 games and you only scored 4 goals. Well, thank God the team we played only scored 1 goal. I mean, that 2-0, 2-1 win could have easily been the other way around, and that's hockey and sports. Actually, talking to Joe Scott about it this morning, that's collegiate athletics at our level. It's that tight. It gets down to a bounce here, a bounce here, a bounce there, a mistake here, a mistake there. Maybe having your goalie slightly outplay their goalie. There's a fine line between winning and losing. The biggest thing is that we're ready to put our best foot forward. I'll tell you what we haven't had our meeting today, and I'll tell you what it's going to be. I'm going to say, hey guys, congratulations on a great weekend, and I so much enjoyed being a part of that and watching you operate on the bench, and the energy level that you played with, and the sacrifices that you made, physically, in order to win those games. But guys, was there anything easy about those 2 wins? Was there anything easy about it? And they're going to say, no, there wasn't. Well, you better get used to it, because it's going to be this way every Friday and Saturday. And are you a Division I player? Are you a Division I player? And then you're going to look at me kind of funny that, what? And you can't answer that right now. You know where the answer is going to lie? The guys that can do it every night for the rest of the season. Because, competing at this level, at the Division I level, there's a physical aspect to it, but there's also a mental aspect. And being able to go out there when you're tired, when you're sore, and still be willing to finish checks, block shots, take hits to make plays. Hey, this isn't for everyone, and not everyone can do it. So every game is a test, and we passed our test last weekend with flying colors. Now the trick is, can we do it again this weekend against Mercyhurst?
You mentioned that second line being an energy line for you with Schwartz, DeCarlo. Talk to me about just the plays they were making and what makes them such a great unit on the ice together. I know Mason McCormick is still injured, but talk to me about that a little bit.
Well, I mean, it's like, Hugh, you should be on my staff. Like, you break this stuff down to a micro level. I mean, like, to me, the energy that second line brings is 95% of it is in the legs of Schwartz and Oliphant. That's what they do. Brian Adams was that type of player for us as well. I mean, we always like to have a couple of those energy, tempo, pace guys in our lineup, and that's what those guys do. What Joe did, Joe moved Remisong and Gibbons, two sophomores, up with Cosentino because their strengths are a little bit more playmaking, where Schwartz and Oliphant are a little bit more energy type thing. And to be honest with you, I wasn't a huge proponent of it, but I didn't stand in his way, and it ended up being like a great call, at least to this point, a great call by Joe, because that line, they are making some plays. They are scoring some goals, the Cosentino, Remisong, and Gibbons line. And then that next unit with Schwartz and Oliphant, they just give us momentum. They tilt the ice, their energy level. It's like they're valuable players for us, even strength and on the penalty kill especially. So I think, every line after a while, after they get some experience, they kind of develop somewhat of a personality, and you are seeing that the personality of that line with Cosentino's line with Remisong and Gibbons, they have there's a certain DNA, a certain personality. You're seeing the same thing on that next line, and that next line with the third line with Dubois, they're kind of a defense first line. And then we've got that fourth line with those freshmen running all over the place. They're still trying to figure it out. But I don't know if I answered your question. But no, those lines are their makeup and the way they play, their style of play is markedly different.
Last one from me, Coach. How close is McCormick to a return?
I will be able to. I think. How close is McCormick to coming back? We need to go down after this press conference and ask him. I haven't seen him today. I know that he hasn't had symptoms. Like, by the time when he's had this protocol, this concussion protocol, when you finally your symptoms are gone away, when you cease to have symptoms, then it's a 7-day window. So I'm going down there optimistic that there's a chance that he may play this weekend. If he had some relapse and some headaches over the weekend, then that's going to change. So hopefully we get Big Mac back. We need him. We are an awfully young team, and we're getting a lot out of this young group. But we don't need to get younger. We got younger losing McCormick. We got younger losing Lester. We got younger losing Digby. We got younger on Friday when we lost Hedden to that 5-minute major and that game disqualification. We don't need to do those. We don't need for those things to happen. But we'll find out a little bit more about Mac today. But the biggest thing with our group is that mentally we're going to give them as much rest as we can possibly get. But I'll tell you what. The bright eyes, the energy, the chatter on the bench, the esprit de corps, like it was really cool to be a part of that. Like, hey, our guys are always into it, but they were fresh mentally. They were into it. They were mentally fresh, physically fresh, and it was fun to see them go up against that more experienced, a good and more experienced Canisius team, and find a way not just to get one. but to get two, I couldn't have been more proud of them. And to be honest with you, let's go back the weekend before, Colorado College. We went toe to toe with them for 5 periods. We lose in overtime after leading the entire game. We lose in overtime on Friday, and we go into Saturday, the third period, up 2-1. We accomplished everything we wanted to accomplish except score the last goal on Friday and win the third period on Saturday. And we're finding out how good they are. They're an awfully good. I told you that after we played them. Before they played it, we played them. After they played them, they are a good team. They are a legit NCAA tournament contender. And I think we just ran out of battery acid on that Saturday night here. Our young team ran out of battery acid and made some mistakes, and CC took advantage of it. So I guess what I'm saying is, we've had with the exception of the third period on Saturday against CC, we've played pretty well in our last 4 games.